3 days before the storm hit, the HOA taped a violation notice to my front door and called my flood wall an eyesore that was hurting property values. By the next morning, they were threatening daily fines if I didn't tear it down. Most of the neighborhood agreed with them. They laughed every time they drove past my house, like I was some paranoid idiot preparing for a disaster that would never come. Then the rain started. Not normal rain, the kind that turns streets into rivers overnight. That's when I realized the neighborhood wasn't peaceful because everyone got along. It was peaceful because everyone was afraid of the HOA. The board fined people over trash cans, flower beds, curtain colors, and grass height. One resident got a warning because holiday decorations stayed up too long after New Year's. Another homeowner received daily penalties for parking a pickup truck in the driveway overnight. And at the center of all of it was HOA President Diane Mercer. Diane spoke about the neighborhood like she personally owned it. Every sentence was about protecting community image and maintaining property standards. The other board members barely spoke unless they were agreeing with her. I kept my distance at first. I followed the rules, paid my dues, stayed quiet. But then hurricane season forecasts started getting worse. Meteorologists warned about unusually severe storm activity developing offshore. News stations began mentioning elevated flash flood risks across several nearby counties. Most people ignored it. I didn't. After reviewing updated county flood maps and drainage reports, I became convinced Maple Ridge had a serious vulnerability nobody wanted to acknowledge, especially the lower central streets where several HOA board members lived. I started making preparations around my property. Extra drainage gravel, reinforced landscaping trenches, water diversion grading hidden beneath decorative stonework. Nobody cared about that. But when I submitted plans for a removable reinforced flood wall around my property, everything changed. The design wasn't ugly. It wasn't some giant concrete bunker. It was a low-profile composite barrier system hidden within landscaping features that could lock into place before major storms. The HOA rejected it almost immediately. Their response claimed the structure violated neighborhood aesthetics and created an unwelcoming appearance inconsistent with community standards. Diane even added handwritten notes questioning whether the barrier was psychologically appropriate for the neighborhood image. That phrase stuck with me. Neighborhood image. Not safety. Not engineering concerns. Image. I appealed the decision with supporting documentation, elevation reports, and county flood assessments. I thought once they saw the actual data, they'd understand. Instead, Diane treated it like a personal insult. At the next HOA meeting, the board openly mocked doomsday homeowners, turning the neighborhood into a fortress. Someone joked that maybe I should build a moat next. People laughed. And slowly, neighbors who once smiled at me started looking at my house differently. Not like I was dangerous, like I was embarrassing. The fine started 2 weeks later. First came a notice about landscaping gravel color violations. Then another about unauthorized drainage modifications. Then warnings about construction materials supposedly visible from the street, even though they were behind my fence. That's when I realized somebody had entered my property. One morning after heavy rain, I found footprints beside the drainage trench near my side yard. A few hours later, the HOA emailed me photographs of the area taken from inside my property line. Close-up photographs. Someone from the HOA had literally walked onto my property to gather evidence. When I confronted Diane during the next meeting, she denied everything and accused me of creating hostility within the community. But the harassment got worse. Neighbors suddenly stopped talking to me. People crossed the street when walking past my house. Anonymous complaints started appearing almost weekly. One claimed my drainage work created unsafe water displacement. Another accused me of lowering surrounding property values. The craziest part? The flood wall hadn't even been installed yet. All of this happened over preparations. Eventually, the HOA escalated to legal threats. I received formal notices demanding immediate removal of all unapproved flood-related structures, or faced lawsuits and escalating penalties. Diane even hinted the HOA could place liens against my property if I refused compliance. That's when I stopped trying to cooperate. Because the more I reviewed public records to defend myself, the more suspicious the neighborhood's drainage history became. County permits didn't match HOA claims. Infrastructure reports showed inconsistencies. And the so-called drainage upgrades Diane constantly bragged about looked incomplete. Very incomplete. Meanwhile, The storm forecasts kept getting worse. Weather alerts intensified by the day. Nearby counties declared emergency preparations. Hardware stores started running out of sandbags and generators. But inside Maple Ridge, the HOA still acted like appearances mattered more than reality. 3 days before landfall, they issued the final violation notice ordering removal of my flood barrier system. I ignored it, and then the storm arrived. By midnight, the neighborhood already felt different. The wind screamed through the trees hard enough to bend branches sideways. Rain hammered rooftops in violent waves. Power flickered constantly across the subdivision. And underneath all of it, the drainage system was already failing. I activated the flood wall around 10 p.m. Steel anchors locked into place beneath the landscaping. Composite panels sealed the perimeter. Within 40 minutes, the entire system was secured. The same system Diane spent months mocking. The first flood warning hit shortly after midnight. Then another. Then emergency alerts for the lower streets near the center of the subdivision. Panic spread instantly across the neighborhood Facebook page. Videos started appearing everywhere. Water overflowing curbs. Storm drains bubbling backward. Garages flooding. People asking why the retention pond looked like it was overflowing. I already knew why. Because the infrastructure underneath Maple Ridge was never truly repaired. And then somebody uploaded drone footage. The camera swept over the neighborhood in darkness while emergency lights flashed across flooded streets below. Rain blurred the lens, but one thing was unmistakable. Almost the entire subdivision sat underwater. Except my property. The flood wall held perfectly. Water diverted around the reinforced perimeter exactly as designed, while neighboring homes flooded street by street. The comments exploded instantly. People went from shocked to furious. Not at me. At the HOA. Residents started posting screenshots of old newsletters where the board promised drainage improvements made the neighborhood secure against future flooding. Others reposted clips of Diane mocking my flood wall during meetings. Then the emergency crews reached Diane Street. I'll never forget seeing her standing outside her flooded house in shin-deep water while muddy runoff poured through her garage like a broken dam. Everything she spent years protecting for the sake of appearances was collapsing in front of her. And the flooding wasn't slowing down. One of the underground diversion channels had completely failed beneath the central subdivision roads. The same project the HOA repeatedly claimed had been repaired years earlier. Around 3 a.m., one of the quieter HOA board members called me directly. His voice sounded panicked. He asked how bad the flooding might get. I told him the truth. Very bad. Then he asked the question I knew was coming. Could my flood wall system help neighboring homes if the water kept rising? Months of harassment, fines, threats, public humiliation, and now they wanted help from the same system they tried to ban. I probably would have helped immediately if things ended there. But Diane made one final mistake. As emergency crews worked through the flooding, she posted a statement inside the HOA group blaming my flood wall for altering drainage patterns and contributing to neighborhood flooding. For about 10 minutes, people actually considered it. Then county engineers arrived, and everything Diane built her authority on completely collapsed. Inspectors confirmed major sections of the drainage expansion project had never been properly completed despite being signed off years earlier. Several underground runoff diversions required under county code were either defective or missing entirely. But the HOA approved payment anyway. Residents learned the truth while standing in floodwater watching their homes get destroyed. The reaction was immediate. Neighbors screamed at board members in flooded streets. People demanded financial records. Videos spread online showing furious homeowners surrounding Diane while emergency pumps struggled behind them. The woman who once controlled the neighborhood through intimidation suddenly looked completely powerless. By sunrise, Maple Ridge barely resembled the same community. Mud covered the streets. Fences floated against curbs. Garage doors hung crooked from flood pressure. Expensive landscaping sat ripped out of the ground. And everywhere, people wore the same expression. Shock. Not just because of the storm. Because they realized the people they trusted cared more about appearances than actual safety. The neighborhood Facebook page became absolute chaos over the next few days. Residents posted archived HOA emails, financial records, meeting screenshots, and old complaints showing repeated warnings about drainage problems years before the flood. The more information surfaced, the uglier everything became. Millions had been collected through HOA dues and special assessments supposedly meant for flood prevention infrastructure. But county investigators discovered several critical upgrades were incomplete or improperly approved. The community turned on Diane instantly. Videos of her mocking my flood wall spread across local media pages beside footage of her own house underwater. News stations picked up the story after investigators confirmed active reviews into permit irregularities connected to Maple Ridge Estates. Then homeowners started asking the question that destroyed the HOA completely. If my flood wall violated community standards so badly, why was it the only thing that actually worked? That question changed the neighborhood forever. People who once laughed at me started approaching my property asking for advice. Homeowners from the flooded streets wanted help understanding drainage systems, runoff control, and flood mitigation. Simple things the HOA should have prioritized years earlier, instead of policing mailbox colors and shrub height. Then the lawsuit started. Homeowners sued the HOA. Insurance companies launched investigations. Contractors faced scrutiny. County officials requested years of financial records tied to infrastructure approvals. And during one disastrous HOA meeting held in a rented conference hall, because the community center itself had flood damage, everything finally exploded. Residents demanded answers publicly. Financial records appeared on projector screens. Homeowners questioned missing inspection reports and suspicious contractor payments. Then somebody played security footage showing HOA representatives trespassing onto my property weeks before the storm to gather evidence against me. The room went silent. After that came internal HOA emails discussing legal strategies to force removal of my flood wall because Diane believed it created negative visual messaging for prospective buyers. That sentence ended her, because suddenly the entire conflict became obvious. The HOA wasn't protecting homeowners. They were protecting optics, even when it endangered people. Multiple board members resigned that night. Diane tried holding on to control a little longer, but it was over. Eventually, she resigned quietly through a carefully worded statement released by her attorney. No apology, no accountability, just legal language. By then, nobody cared. The damage was done. Some families left Maple Ridge permanently after insurance disputes drained their savings. Property values dropped hard once the infrastructure failures became public. Several homes near the lower streets sat abandoned for months. Ironically, the very thing Diane obsessed over protecting got destroyed by the HOA itself. About 6 months later, the neighborhood elected an entirely new board. Restrictions on flood mitigation systems disappeared almost immediately. Several homeowners installed protective barriers modeled after my original design, the same design they once mocked. And every time heavy rain rolls through Maple Ridge now, the entire neighborhood changes. People monitor drainage channels. They prepare. They pay attention. Because once you've watched an entire community drown under the weight of its own denial, you stop confusing looking safe with actually being safe. And every time storm clouds gather over the subdivision, one thing still stands above everything else. The flood wall the HOA once called a joke is still standing perfectly in place.